So today we are here with Eeshaan Kashyap in his beautiful studio in Delhi. He does amazing stuff, multi-talented and wears many hats literally. It's quite amazing to see and the journey that you've had.
Right.
It's so brilliant.
Literally wearing many hats, you know.
Yeah, and you love your hat.
When we design menus, we make it a point that our matrix is divided between straight drinks and, you know, something to try new. Overall, there's a lot of research which goes in what's current. Last week we did miso and curry leaf in a vodka drink. I mean, Japan and like South Indian, we like, what do we call it? So we like Jap Indie.
It's quite amazing how passionate you are, and that pretty much reflects in every project that you do.
Yeah, it's, food and beverage are my mediums for design inspiration.
Cheers, Eeshaan, and thank you for this. Welcome to the wedding podcast, the Insider series. Our guest today is Eeshaan Kashyap, an amazing designer, chef, food curator, and an amazing beverage curator. He has this amazing brand called Tablescapes by Eeshan. He does amazing stuff, multi-talented, and wears many hats literally. So today we are here with Eeshaan Kashyap, and while we are here, we carry our mugs, of course, but they are not filled with coffee. Today, Eeshaan has done something very special for us.
Has to be. So, I mean,
cheers, Eeshaan, and thank you for this. And you must tell what are we drinking to the audience.
So, you know, this is one of my favorite cocktails with an elderflower spritzer,
it's
but
amazing.
With an Indian twist to it. So this is Bela Sharbat, the frangipani nectar from Bikaner with some sparkling wine, and it's just perfect. So
it's
I think
so amazing, guys. I can't
just
tell you. I
refreshing,
want to have a sip before we start talking.
And really looking forward to it. So
Eeshaan, we've known each other for a while, but I've never had the opportunity to really come to your beautiful studio and see what you do. Quite amazing to see, and the journey that you've had. It's so brilliant to see what all you're doing here.
It's literally wearing many hats, you know.
Yeah, and you love your hats. I know
do
that.
Love my hats. I mean, if I would have the way, I will have a hat room, and I'll probably pick up a hat every day and then figure out. But yeah, it's been incredible in terms of, I think, the background from food and beverage, and then, you know, being trained as a professional chef. I used to be with Oberoi Hotels for almost 14 years, where, you know, you study the landscape of food from length to breadth, and then beverages, events, and then lots of design now.
Talking of beverages, which is something I'd really want to hear from you, because you do it with such a great twist and so differently.
Right.
You know, we've seen from cocktails to sugar-free cocktails to today's fresh ingredient cocktails, this whole transition in the beverage scene has been quite amazing.
Right.
And I'd like to hear a little bit of your view. How do you take this forward?
So I think it's absolutely interesting, captivating, and, you know, each time the more we are researching, the more we are tasting, the more brave combinations we are bringing together. It is amazing to see how the palate is evolving, and I purely put in context that just after the lockdown, everybody wanted to be a bar person. Everybody wanted to stack their, you know, cabinet, get a bar trolley. I also design a lot of tableware, objects, and everything around the table and entertainment. It was fascinating to see that how the barware category within the entire home section increased completely.
Lovely.
Everybody now knows what a shaker is, what a peg measure is. So I think in terms of the exposure, the accessibility, like gin is like, everybody knows, you know, Goa is a gin spot for India right now with local ingredients. So I think, of course, the social media and other digital things have been important, but I think people are really pushing themselves to try one cocktail or two cocktails and, you know, go away from the idea of straight drinks, even though when we design menus, we make it a point that matrix is divided between straight drinks and, you know, something to try new. I always think of one thing, whether I'm designing a product or cooking or drinking, that there needs to be a surprise element.
Yeah.
I think that is something which you pleasantly just kind of smile sipping through it. So
this surprise is very often for the couple, or you think it's for the guest?
You know, so it's interesting that the projects or the themes that we are working on, I kind of take a very unconventional route where, of course, everybody, does great drinks. They're all well traveled. We do all the tastings, all the conversation in the studio here.
Okay.
Which kind of breaks the idea of that you're sitting in a traditional bar and then, looking at bottles and then, talking things which are very technical. We have a drink, we have a cup of tea, we chat about, and I kind of dig into the idea of how passionate people are about drinking, how did they meet, what was that 1 or 2 or 5 shots that they have, in the past. And then I kind of weave that idea of what they like in terms of their personality.
Yeah.
And then what they really like drinking. It's about those two people celebrating, organizing everything. And I keep telling them, it's great to have a martini for mummy and like Papa is having your whiskey. But what is it that you guys want? Jaeger on a tall glass? Have it. Drink it. So
it's how you like it.
It's absolutely how you like it. And taste is personal and you do, it's one day, so have fun with it. And we do projects where, design is important, flowers are important, but bar are very important.
Bars are very important.
It's not just a bar, it's every time,
It's actually, it's pretty much your center spot.
Yeah,
it's the place where, for the larger weddings, which are really large format, I've seen people come, they are grooms, either friends, colleagues, cousins, and the bride side. And if they don't know each other, I think many of them become friends at the bar and go back.
Absolutely.
So it's quite a melting pot.
Yeah, totally. And we try a point in terms of collaterals or very soft elements which break the ice, like right from the coaster or cocktail napkin, which I embroidered, to even the menu, which probably have photographs, or a book, a coffee table book, which has been customized for a cocktail, station, which is not just a book, but they're kind of seeing different things and, talking and absolutely at the bar.
It's quite amazing how passionate you are, and that pretty much reflects in every project that you do.
Yeah, it's
talking of the alcohol space in India. There's always been these trends that I've seen.
Right.
It started with like this whole gin craze.
Right.
And then now I feel everybody's so much into tequila.
Right.
And mezcals and, so how does is this pretty much controlled by the beverage industry and it's a marketing gimmick, or there is some other reason why this whole trend changes?
I think a combination of a lot of things. I'm in Delhi and we were very lucky once upon a time where the alcohol was really cheap. Like
it
really
is yet cheap.
It is, I agree. And the accessibility, the spending power, the how approachable the brands kind of became with international brands like, of course, gins, mezcal, agaves, and many other things kind of came. Japanese whiskey was so easy. You're not waiting for a duty free to go and get those 4 bottles. So I think in terms of trends, gin is something which it's almost like the sushi, burrata, avocado kind of a craze where everybody wants a truffle oil and everything. So people wanted to explore different ingredients in gin, try the process-driven gins, which obviously are Indian-based. And of course, right now, even as we are working on projects, there's something very unique that we're trying to do to give a little bit of surprise, a little bit of excitement, is not just have one bar, but kind of have bar stages. So I kind of treat a bar almost like a performative stage or a venue where I have a tequila area, which is just tequila, salt and chilies, and friends like Ritu who does amazing food. It is so interesting to kind of weave the idea of food, flavors, and then pair it up with almost like an apothecary. So we did recently a gin library where you just walk into a space, you see, sip, smell, mix, and you kind of make your own perfumes which are edible out of gin. You kind of try gins which are infused with ingredients which are not so common, like junipers from Himalaya or pine which is fresh or flowers. So I think weddings are such an interesting ecosystem when it comes to displaying an idea, but also difficult because every time the same crowd or visually when we do things that goes out, the first question is, we want to do something interesting.
Different,
And of course, the vodka is vodka, and certain things have to be there. I always keep an old monk.
You do?
Because there'll be that one person who comes and will be like, "There's no old monk. We don't want cocktails."
So
it is really fascinating to see how beverage forward, cocktail forward, the concepts are. We are even working on a wedding right now, which is more detailed and layered, but it's completely non-alcoholic.
I was just going to ask you, what happens for the teetotalers? I mean, do they feel so left out at an event, or are you all doing something for them? I know there's this whole range of mocktails everybody keeps,
right.
and they are usually sipping on their tea, coffee bars happening.
Right.
But that's very interesting. Just tell us a little more.
So what we're doing is we are kind of course there are suites in all these beautiful venues which are obviously with alcohol, but for a generic point of view in terms of a theme, we are creating concepts based on the meal period, whether it's day, night, or an after party, and we're trying to use the concept of classic cocktail like a Negroni, but it's non-alcoholic. A whiskey sour, it is non-alcoholic. So we are substituting the ingredients and pairing it in a way where, I mean, of course it's not alcoholic, but it kind of gives you that impression. They're so immersive, the entire experiences. For example, we're doing a full fermented bar where we just don't have kombuchas, but we have beverages which are sustainable. They are made out of interesting combinations and not just super healthy, like you obviously are there to enjoy, but it gives you a little high in terms of seeing creative things, around it.
Non-alcoholic beverages or rather non-alcoholic gins and whiskeys are also getting quite popular.
Very, very, absolutely. So,
and there beers,
are, and beers. So there are different categories of spirits which are non-alcoholic. And gone are the days where people are having mojito and sharbat and kala khatta and I don't know, Bloody Mary. I mean, great. But now we're
Virgin Mary.
No, so now we in fact, doing things like a version of a Bloody Mary, but like a white tomato rasam, which is almost clarified, but has got a little tinge of curry leaves and some juniper berries. So you're kind of sipping and thinking that maybe it's alcohol, but a drizzle of gin could have been better.
When do you do your research? In your studio, or do you attend international forums and shows? Where do you get your creative ideas on beverages?
I think the simple answer is that I love to eat and cook. I love to entertain. I love to make drinks for people who I like. I mean, friends and family who also love drinking, by the way. But I think overall, there's a lot of research which goes in what's current, what is seasonal, what is the world doing. Like right now, everybody is working on the clarified concept where you have clarified vodka mango lassi or a clarified whiskey sour, or you're washing it with fat like ghee or butter old fashioned, or a ghee washed specific whiskey drink. So I think these are also techniques, and it's amazing that even in terms of the Indian beverage context, there is a lot of exposure. There are some really great people who are pushing the ideas of bringing Indian bars onto the world map. There is Asia's 50 top bars, and there are so many bars pan-India which are part of it, and in the top 50. So it kind of pushes people to see what they're doing differently, and then that becomes like a more region-specific ingredient-based menu. There are menus which are inspired by textile. There are menus which are inspired by color. So I think we always try and combine the idea of brave flavors, especially for me. Like last week we did miso and curry leaf in a vodka drink. I mean, Japan and like South Indian, we like, what do we call it? So we like Jap Indie. Let's call it like a Jap Indie martini, So I think it's also about pushing the boundaries, and the most important part is also to understand what the couple or the family wants,
That's true.
A lot of times they want that the youngsters should wake up the next day and, the drinks can't be... You
don't want to keep it so heavy.
So heavy. So we kind of keep the menu very kind of dynamic in terms of the matrix, that yes, the after party is going to be slightly more heavier. But you kind of start with something refreshing, and, you go on to something more complex, and then you kind of are ready to dance and, because we like people drinking, and that's the sign.
Have you designed anything like a pre-mix, like you used to get those party mixes that you line your stomach, and
so
do you
I mean,
or
for
maybe
me,
you should do that.
No, we do that. There are many different versions of tonics and edibles that one can take. But I think the basic fundamental is that we keep telling people, please eat and then sip. So a lot of time, in fact, with Ritu again, we've done things where if the theme is Mexican, if you're doing beautiful tacos or a pulled pork or a jackfruit, we pair it with a little paloma next to it. So you're sipping and eating. Nice. So it's kind of a jugalbandi of food and flavors and the idea.
I always like that. I always feel there has to be next to the bar quite a station for nibbles.
Absolutely.
Maybe something you take a bite size because that keeps you going through the evening.
Absolutely.
And of course, chasing it with water is always a good idea.
Yeah. And of course, we as I said, dancing and, having fun is the most important part. Like our focus is at the end of the day that, we've done these amazing conceptualized, intellectualized concepts, but the core of it is everybody should have fun, right? From the grandmother who probably will have just that one drink.
Yeah.
But, it's a little vibe that we did a wedding out of India where it was really cute. We did a fountain of gin.
Oh, lovely.
You could go and take your glass and go to different fountains and take like an elderflower gin and a
nice.
herbal or a Malabar gin. And after a while, I realized that, the bride is obviously getting the mehendi done. The groom is happy. All the family oldies were really drunk, and I was like, okay, like we need to figure this out. This is unusual because because they didn't. It was so nice because they were just putting the glass and gulping it and then coming back, and because every corner was a fountain. Yeah. And then we were like, listen, let's just kind of maybe dilute it a little bit. So those are fun things where you have the other side of people, having fun and it's just a memory then, which kind of lasts.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun then at the end of the day.
Eeshan, I've heard of this thing called green drinks.
Green cocktails, yeah.
Green cocktails, yeah.
Right.
What's this trend?
So, green cocktails are non-alcoholic or low ABV focused beverages where the idea is not to really get drunk. They are more mindful in terms of the category of cocktail, and we actually do a lot of them for a lunch or a brunch meal period, which has happened, the previous night has been a heavy after party sort of a night, and just to come and have like a mild gin with cucumber water is kind of refreshing. So a lot of components which are detox, exactly, very detox, very kind of healthy and rich in antioxidants and other parts.
Nice.
So it's like a big chunk of menus or requirements or healthy things that people usually like
also
doing.
Talking of that, from the healthy perspective, there's a concept of clear ice, I think.
Absolutely. Ice is such an important part now.
Yeah.
It is some part of the budget now, in fact. Like ice is not just simple barf that we kind of order, and of course, it's clean and RO water, etc. But clarified ice is now a vertical where vendors are producing ice in carved and transparent, which is there's a different process of freezing it.
Okay.
Where all the impurities and the air bubbles kind of are sealed and it's absolutely rock clear ice which stays longer.
It's called clarified ice.
It's called clear ice based on the format of the drink.
Yeah.
We use a lot of clear ice, and I think it's you even get clear ice now on apps like Blinkit for home.
Oh really?
Yeah. So it's become a commodity, and going back to what I said, that barware or entertainment as a sector has become so large and wide and accessible that if I want to order a Bloody Mary, let's say premix, 100% there'll be an app which will probably give me that. Hopefully, I mean, I'm sure you've read in the newspaper, we'll have delivery of alcohol through various delivery food apps. Well, if that happens, that'll be even pushing, the boundaries better.
Even further.
Yeah. And even glassware.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, talking of all the things that are happening, and I know you are very particular with the glassware.
Right.
My observations at my weddings the particular person will go to the bar and like, give me my gobbler,
Absolutely.
The gin in the gobbler.
Yeah.
And they don't want their wines in wine glasses anymore.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit and tell us a little bit about the glassware.
It's again a very specific niche. It's about how people like to enjoy their drinks, but we use mixed materials now, right? From a mitti ka kullad to something which is copper or a mug or something which has been repoussé or embossed with in a like a metal dye.
Yeah.
We get requests where each meal period should have a different glassware range, from crystal to hand blown glasses, and some we design in our studio and some we source because sometimes the volumes are so large that it's difficult. But it's interesting that, like we are having this
I
lovely
know,
sparkling wine in a chai glass, which is designed by a friend.
So lovely.
Absolutely. So
it's a chai glass,
it's a
right?
chai glass, but with a modern interpretation of
how lovely.
A little stem. So, so you kind of figure out innovative ways.
Yeah.
We are even using wooden glasses now, rock glasses or glasses which are made even of bread, like straws made with rice.
Oh, really?
So eventually it kind of disintegrates, after a few hours. So again, it's a concept where sometimes the groom or the bride are such a pro in terms of their drinks, and they've met in New York and they've done all the speakeasies. So it's kind of really challenging to then surprise you or impress you with something which is unusual, and then things like Bikaner really works.
Yeah, this is lovely. You worked, I think, pan-India, internationally, on various weddings.
Right.
Where do you get most, the drinking heavy city, which is like where you feel that, okay, this took me by surprise.
It is Hyderabad.
Really?
Yes, it is Hyderabad, I think.
I would have never guessed that.
I thought Delhi drinks
I
more.
always thought Delhi.
No, not at all. All my calculations were wrong for a project we did. Thankfully, we had backup stock for the next day, which we used in the previous day. The party went till 7:30. Everybody was perfect.
Wow.
And they all came on time at 10 a.m., which was the next consecutive, ritual that we were also doing, but that was non-alcoholic. But Hyderabad can really drink.
Really? Yeah. Big shout out to my friends in Hyderabad.
Yeah, they're really, really good. And
but the Hyderabad weddings are also getting really bigger.
They
they were always big, but I think now they've taken on this, there's space also.
Absolutely.
I think these two cities, Delhi, Hyderabad, are blessed to have space where you can do so much.
So, this is very interesting because usually one of the events that we do for let's say a family is very large. And it's very difficult to kind of showcase creativity, and especially cocktails which are so intricate and they take time for 1,200 to 1,500 people. For places like those, we devise mechanisms which are faster. So we do cocktail cabinets where cocktails are already pre-made, almost like a fridge. So they are bottled. So almost like a bottled cocktail. So you pick it up, you kind of serve with clear ice, and you kind of go.
Oh, lovely.
We also have slush machines, like imagine tequila kind of coming out where it's self-service. And every time when we are even working with designers, where I'm fighting for space that, I need more space. I think that's the biggest fight where...
Designing a bar, I always tell all my, as a planner, my job is pretty much to stitch in the requirements of the beverage team, food team, design team, and I make sure we have a very detailed meeting with the bar team.
It's very important.
The kind of slots they need to place their bottles, where their glass will be. I hate it when I can see ice behind. It's just a
I think for all the designers who are friends, they'll kill me, but I think everybody loves to make an island bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but what about the stuff at 11 p.m. which kind of gets accumulated, and nobody thinks about replenishment.
Yeah.
Once you close the door, the guy also has to come out and go back. So,
I totally agree.
I have to fight for it, and I make sure that, we have the correct arrangement or compartments at the back.
This attention to detail is a must.
It's very important.
It's a must.
And now we also have bars which have to be really strong because many times people dance on the bar.
Stronger bars.
Bars. So
have podiums around.
Absolutely. So dancing becomes a part of the bar. In a lot of parties.
Eeshaan, you've loved design, and I know it's just not about beverage. I know I'm talking one segment of what you do.
Right.
But design is a big part of your portfolio.
Absolutely.
And how did this start? What's your love for design, and which part of your design work do you like the most?
My life is surrounded by food and alcohol, and I think that's a very happy place to kind of put it in brackets.
Yeah.
I've designed restaurants, I've designed bars, I've designed concepts, weddings. We work very closely with art galleries and more conceptual concepts also. I think that one thing which really is prominent in design is, the idea of bringing two unusual elements together, pairing them, and at the end of the day, it's the people who make the table, or it's the people who make the bar. So they need to have fun around it. So I always focus that design can be great, but it needs to be functional. A glass needs to be simple, where it's not wobbly, it's stable. And
functionality.
And a cocktail,
styling can't take over the functionality part of it, And you know, there's also this whole safety angle that one needs to be very, very mindful of, you know.
Absolutely. So I think for me, food and beverage are my mediums for design inspiration, where a lot of time I design a glass based on what drink we are doing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like if it's
so
a holy...
So do you have a vendor chain that creates this specifically for you?
We do have resources. We do a lot of production in-house, but as long as we have time.
Yeah.
And we try and do it more customized and exclusive, that it's not repeated.
Yeah.
A lot of sourcing happens pan-India based on, you know, which part of the country we are working or which part of the world we are doing. Like in Bali, we did something very interesting where, of course, coconut is very, you know, kind of available everywhere. But we scented the coconut water and sealed it back. And each coconut was scented with jasmine petals. So you kind of sipping coconut water without knowing that it's been scented, but then you're like, wait, like there's something happening.
Yeah, you're not getting...
You know, and obviously people who have evolved palate is like, listen, please put vodka in this, you know, and they're chilled, you know, you just arrive.
Yeah,
so, you know, those are the little details which I like. And of course, the team was ready to kill me because we had to open the coconuts, infuse the petals, put it back, and, you know, seal it with...
it's high time you start a beverage school, you know that, right?
I think we'll only be trying and experimenting, I think, cocktails in-house as we do here and, you know, what we've been seeing today.
Yeah. So what's the process that Eeshaan, you and your team take as a process to work on a wedding? Like when it starts from the stage of somebody from the wedding ecosystem, either a designer or a planner reaching out to you.
Right.
Or a client reaching out to you, how do you take the journey forward?
I think for me, the most important part is understanding that what is it that they're really looking, you know. One is that, you know, we kind of put out a menu which is basically, you know, catered to for everybody coming in. The other part is where the team or the people who are involved in planning, whether it's family or friends, are also kind of getting involved and enjoying the process of these cocktails. I definitely go into depth in terms of what they like.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't want floral, or a lot of time people hate lemon or peach.
Or they don't like a specific
Absolutely.
fragrance.
So those are things which are very important in terms of the process. We work backwards on the location. We work backwards on the layout. I work very closely with a lot of friends, and fortunately, you know, we work with the best of the best planners and you know, people like you know, who make things much more easier to execute the creative part and the function part, and then we kind of sketch it back. Many tastings happen. I always try and keep the menu balanced, where it's safer. It's not super surprising, and then, you know, there's something for everybody.
That's lovely. I think with this, we are going to walk through with Eeshaan and get him to see at work and see what he really creates for us.
Well, let's do that, and there are many more interesting concoctions that I think you're going to try.
So pretty and such a lovely
so
color.
This is like a little blue totem, blue glasses that we do.
Love this color.
Come, welcome to the studio.
Oh, this is so pretty.
So we do all our meetings.
Quaint.
And quaint, you know, tucked away and perfect for discussing beverages and drinks.
So. Very unlike.
And we have a beverage station here where we, you know, kind of put things up. So yeah.
I'm so looking forward to this.
Come, and now we have this beautiful table, which is almost like a...
so colorful and lovely.
Absolutely. So all the magic happens here, a lot of trial, and we're actually working on a very interesting concept where we're trying to age a Negroni in terracotta, which is right here. You can actually smell it. It's kind of strong and interesting.
I love anyways. Mitti ki khushbu,
absolutely.
I love it.
So, and we've done some Kashmiri Desi Gulab. It's dried in a cold environment, so it's not bitter and dark.
And the colors yet very fresh.
Very fresh, very beautiful. It gives that little, you know, you see this little bright blooming color with the vetiver. I'm going to make you try a little bit of this, which is...
So what's the alcohol base?
So this is Campari, this vermouth and gin. But we've kind of given it a twist. So taste it, you'll actually try it out, and you know, and then we kind of age it based on Yeah, it's strong, but then it kind of mellows and with the clarified ice.
If somebody wants it lighter, do you mix something?
So with the ice, it dilutes.
Yeah.
But the idea is you get that little minerality, that little mitti ka.
And I can have various tastes in my mouth.
Yeah, so it's very layered and interesting and, you know, kind of interesting take on a Negroni. Nice. So, you know, based on the complexity of the menu, there's also something which is a Madurai coffee cocktail, which is super interesting.
Madurai coffee cocktail?
Yeah, so this is almost like a lota which kind of gets deconstructed and, you know, you can do different elements to it. So, almost like a concoction. So, it's not really an espresso martini, but a very spicy version of a drink. So, like, we're going to just drizzle some cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg. So it kind of looks nice, and of course then we kind of put a little chocolate and different things. So here you can just...
You serve it like that?
Oh, we serve it like this. So the idea is that... Yes, so the idea is it kind of goes like this, which is beautiful. So you have a little sip, you have a little bit of something to eat, and a lot of times we keep a little note which is almost like the last part of, you know, the beverage curation. So
I mean, for intimate... events,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's deconstructed. Coffee in 3 ways. This is going to be bitter slightly, but so.
And what's the alcohol mix?
This is vodka, which is infused with Valrhona chocolate, coffee, Madurai. You know that aspect. So
lovely.
So it's almost coffee which is presenting in a unusual way.
Amazing.
There's also something very interesting that we do. We do edible perfumes.
Okay.
Where, you know, we create these very sweet note of the alcoholic base. And this is a mist that basically refreshes you for a haldi, etc. Okay. So suppose if you're sipping something, so the idea is that you're sipping lemon, but, you know, we kind of spray it out in a way where there's gulab and then, you know, so you kind of...
And this has a...
This is a citrus and rose both.
Nice.
So the idea is that you kind of are interacting with smell, you're sipping and, you know, the entire combination of a...
Working on all your senses.
All your senses. It's very tactile, it's very interesting.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Eeshaan.
Of course.
It's been a great visit to your studio.
Of course.
And this table is...
I mean, it's messy, but it does all the work.
No, it's not messy.
You know?
It's beautiful. It's got colors. It's got ingredients. It's got flavors.
Absolutely.
And I can only imagine what magic you and your team create at bars and at events. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.